くなりたい。上手くなりたい。上手くなりたい。上手くなりたい。上手くなりたい。上手くなりたい。上手くなりたい。上手くなりたい。上手くなりたい。誰にも負けたくない。誰にも。
In winter 2025, I visited Uji, Kyoto as a part of my first trip to Japan. This city is the reality of my favorite anime, Sound Euphonium. I can't even begin to describe the unfathomable amount of joy that was being able to walk through the sights and streets that I've seen in my favorite anime. For just a little bit of context, Sound Euphonium is a coming-of-age story that follows Omae Kumiko as she discovers more about herself through band and the experiences that change her as a person. And it was my goal to find moments from the anime in real life. I first arrived on the Nara line to Uji Station, the very train that Kumiko sees when she yells about how she wants to be better. After we checked into our hotel, I recommended my family to eat at the local Saizeria. Though it's just another Italian family restaurant chain there in Japan, it's actually one of the places we see some of the characters eat at. Though of course I wasn't able to sit and get a shot of the scene, the restaurant itself was a very pleasant experience. Not to mention how cheap the meal was for the quality we got. A solid 8 out of 10. Then after, I dragged my family to take a look at Uji Bridge and capture the intro of this video.
That's it, that's good enough for now.
I also got my first snapshots for the trip. We then wandered around for a bit and tried some not too sweet gelato from this cute little store. It was one of the only places open late, 8:30 p.m, so if you want something to do late here, take a gander here. Everyone went back to the hotel to rest from travel, but my heart could not wait. I went to find the most sacred spot anyone from the UFO fanbase should know. The Kumiko Bench. An official tourist spot on maps. It was dark AF by the way. 10 p.m. to be exact, but even then there was something so relaxing about sitting where one of my favorite fictional characters loved to sit, practice, and talk. But it's still nighttime and I hadn't yet seen another soul since I left my hotel, so I decided to start making my way back. Next day, I started bright and early and actually away from Uji and into Kyoto, and of course there was some Sound Euphonium shots to get up here, so after leaving the Damachiyanagi station, I first make my way to where the Kamo and Takano rivers meet, where I stumbled upon some river stepping stones designed as turtles. I didn't realize at the time, but this is also where this promo shot was. I want to note that whenever I get in public, I get shy, so I didn't record everything for the process, but basically I hunted these two shots of the Minani Tsutayaru Bridge, and this quick shot of Kumiko walking through Tamako Market. Or at least the street that heavily influenced the anime. While I was up in Kyoto, I wanted to do a bit more generic touristy things and visit the Kyoto Imperial Palace. But to my surprise, it was closed. They're closed on Mondays only, and it is Monday. So to make my time worth it, you bet I still walked through most of that, which is honestly still pretty cool to get to walk through the whole area when there wasn't a lot of people around. Though these signs throughout the park had me double checking the skies every 2 seconds. Anyway, I made my way to the station and began to travel back down toward Uji at the Rokujizo station. My goal was to find this promo shot from season 3, so here is a quick montage of the places I found on the way that line up with the anime. It was also here that I realized while the studio and the story were heavily inspired by Uji, they took some creative liberties in Uji's geography. You see, the school is farther down toward Obaka Station, but in the anime, it's written so that you are really close to Rokujizo Station. So yeah, pretty far apart. But anyway, I made it to the street to get this shot, and this shot. By the way, if this video gains any traction to the UFO fanbase, this is also the same area where Hazuki runs during the first season of Team Monaca Special. At this point, my feet were dead. Very dead. You can see it from this shot, but this was up a hill. And this was at least a 15-degree incline. These high school girls are no joke with their fitness levels, fictional or not. But I pressed on. My next goal was to find a McDonald's the characters frequented after school. But I totally underestimated how far of a walk it was between stations and ended up walking this whole distance. And just to get this half-ass shot because I was so tired. But it was also because I was on a timer now. I had lunch plans with my family at 12:30, so I had a lot of ground to kill. I think it was only 10:30 at this time. After continuing through the city, I eventually arrived at the JR Kohata station, which is also right next to the Uji branch of Kyoto Animation Studios. It's a small facility and it's not a public facility either, but I'm glad I got to see my favorite studio in person. I then began making my way to the pride and joy of the series, Kitaoji High School, or Todo High School as it is in real life. On my way, I found this Midori Tobidachi sign in this Christmas getup they put on her. For a quick fact, a Tobidachi sign is just Japan's version of these kids' warning signs in America. I continued my very tired way through the streets of slowly increasing inclines until I arrived at the iconic 7-Eleven the characters stop at. If there was a 7-Eleven on the way home to the station from school, I'd stop by here all the time. And a snack I did get. As I exhaustingly continued my way through the streets, I suddenly realized where I was without having to recheck my map.
Oh my god. It's like the realization when you suddenly know where you are.
As I did have a goal, I couldn't admire the scene quite yet, and I ran my way up the path and found myself at this view, which is part of this promo. I have to say, this is my second favorite view of this whole UFO journey. Don't worry, the best view was definitely saved for last. Anyway, it was time to make my way to Kitaoji, and well, I think I'll let the clips speak for themselves.
Oh my god. So many hills. And I have to climb Daikitsuyama later. My god.
Yeah, I don't know about y'all, but just from the station Kumiko is supposed to get off of, it is a straight mile of walking uphill to get to the damn school. Like again, the strength of these high school girls, my goodness. Oh, to be young again with good knees, I say at my ripe age of 25, almost 26. But I gotta say, it really is crazy to know your way around despite having never actually been there. Eventually, I make it to Todo High School, the high school that served as the base for Kitaoji High School. What a feeling it is to be my adult self happy to see a place where children gather. Yeah, that quickly sank in, so I only have these two clips because ain't no way I'm walking any closer to the school. I will say though, I'm happy enough with the fact I could see the steps where Kumiko said her heartfelt "see you later" to Asuka. I then made my way back to Obaku Station, the very station Kumiko usually takes home, and rode it all the way back to the Keihan Uji Station. And to my surprise, I was greeted with some sound Euphonium character posters. I may be clearly biased, but this station was my favorite out of my entire Japan trip, from its general architecture to having the collaboration with my favorite anime, but something about this station just felt so local and different than all the bigger ones I've encountered. I then actually backtracked and made my way up the Uji River to visit one of the other highly memorable locations of Sound Euphonium, the scene where Asa plays the song piece, Sound Euphonium, to Kumiko. I have to add though, I made a mistake at where this place was and ended up walking way further up Uji River than I thought. I actually ran. But eventually I did make it and took a well-earned rest on these steps. I played the song to myself, trying to live out the scene I've watched over so many times. I would have loved to stay longer, but it was already 12:15, and with the lunch plans at 12:30, I checked the nearest train and I found out it would come at 12:20, and it takes 15 minutes to travel, so time-wise, I was not making it back. So I did the only thing I could think of, and that was to run all that same distance back. Yeah, this was a 30k step day, by the way. And I did make it to lunch on time and had a very delicious unagi bento. After lunch, I wanted to make my way back to the Kumiko bench to see it during the day and stumbled upon the Uji Tourist Center and found their sound euphonium display. My goodness. And wrote into this notebook. I then made my way to the Kumiko bench again to capture this photo. I relaxed there a bit more off camera to take in the surroundings. I just needed that break, y'all. But this is also just a very beautiful place. Then I made my way to the center man-made island of the river to get these photos and slowly make my way to the Uji Shrine. I actually recorded a decent amount of the shrine but found a no photos or recording as I was leaving, so oops, this is all you're getting. There are actually two shrines right next to each other, Uji Shrine and Uji Kami Shrine.
どっちが好き？え？さっきの神社とこっちの神社。私はこっちの方が好き。渋くて大人な感じがする。わかんない？
I'd say I agree with Reina though. I like Uji Kami Shrine a little bit more, something fancy about it. So this route that I'm taking you guys on here, it leads to probably the most iconic scene location in the anime, much more than Kumiko's Bench. This is the hike to Mount Daikichiyama. This hike takes about 30 minutes and the inclines are not bad, but I couldn't help but replay all the scenes from the show in my head. But the view was so worth it. But this is also where I let you know my dumb head did not record the top of the hike. I was alone for a solid 2 minutes and just spent that time myself. And I kind of needed it. And it was like so worth it to end my day knowing that this is the view that like Kumiko and Reina has seen. To my friends and family that patiently waited 4 months for this video, thank you so much for waiting, and I'm sorry that it took so long. It's just that this content was so important to me. Everything that these characters represent, everything that these places represent to me, I just didn't want to get wrong. They speak to me from my soul, and I myself have changed so much in the past 4 months that I really wanted to do this video justice. So thank you for watching. I really appreciate anyone that really makes it to the end of this video, because these are just little love letters to myself at the end of the day. And if you decide you like that, then let me know, and I'll really do want to make more of these. Well, regardless of whether you like it or not, I'm definitely making more of these videos. So until next time.